Last June, Venerable Nima was doing a review from Approaching the Buddhist Path on a section about cultivating love and compassion. And in her preparation, she drew from the Metta Sutta and a commentary by Bhikkhu Bodhi. Bhikkhu Bodhi is a Theravadan scholar. And she shared with us some of the main points from his commentary, which really brought to life each of those verses in the sutta. And it moved me deeply that night, and ever since then, Venerable Nima and I are in the process of memorizing. It's just a short sutra, but it's so beautiful. There are a number of commentaries online. In fact, there's one site that gives 19 different translations of this sutta. So there's some leeway, some variation on a theme of how each word is translated. Growing up as a Catholic, I remember being fond of 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 8. Do some of you remember that? Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And then as a Buddhist, I have always enjoyed meditating on loving kindness. Most commonly it's found in the 7-point instruction of cause and effect for developing bodhicitta, but also in the four immeasurables and in various places. When I lived in Australia, I went through one very difficult period of time just after my teacher of 7 years left. He was assigned as the abbot of Gyumay Tantric College. And in hindsight, I can see that I was grieving his loss, but at the time I didn't really understand what was going on. But to work with the grief and the depression, the main practice that helped me during that time was meditating on loving kindness. I'd collected a CD of Venerable Ajahn Achalo, a wonderful Australian monk in the Thai forest tradition, and he was leading a very detailed meditation on loving kindness. And so I listened and meditated alongside this CD and his instruction day after day, and slowly the grief and the sadness lifted. In one of the last teachings I heard from Khenzo Rinpoche, he urged his students, very, very clearly, he urged his students to meditate on the four immeasurables to the point that at our time of death, one of these four immeasurables would arise spontaneously. And we could have a virtuous state of mind. So it's something that I have been slowly trying to put into practice. And with this sutra, it has re-inspired that intention to do that. Also recently, during the Manjusha retreat, we came across a verse in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend on the four immeasurables. And Venerable mentioned that in the Pali scriptures, the Buddha advised that as our basic way of greeting or relating to people, we can have this attitude of loving kindness, a very positive, friendly, pleasant attitude. This meditation is quite powerful, a powerful method for overcoming states of mind like anger, resentment, impatience, and also for increasing our non-harmfulness. So it can be an ideal attitude for greeting whoever we meet throughout the day. It's also evidently a suitable object for developing serenity or calm abiding, or concentration in general, as a basis for insight. Metta is a Pali word, and it means loving kindness, or Maitri in Sanskrit. And in the Buddhist tradition, it's the wish for ourselves and others to have happiness and well-being, and the causes of that. Okay, today I'd like to share the sutra with you, but first I'd like to share the history of this, how this sutta came into being. It's a little more extensive than what Venerable Nima shared with us that night. It's said that the Buddha was staying in Sravasti in Jeta's Grove in the monastery built by Anathapindika. In those days, a month or two before the rains retreat started, monks would come from all over the country and assemble wherever the Buddha was staying in order to receive direct instruction from him for the rains retreat. And then after they received that instruction, they would go back to their monastery or their hermitage or wherever their forest dwelling was, wherever they were meditating, and put his teachings and advice into practice. So it's said that at that time, 500 monks received instruction from the Buddha in the particular techniques of meditation suitable for each of their temperaments. And after receiving that instruction, then this group of 500 went in search of a suitable place. And in the course of their wandering, they found a beautiful place in the foothills of the Himalayas, where there was a cool, dense forest grove and a clean spring of cool water nearby. The forest grove was near a few villages and also a small market town, which was ideal for them to collect alms. The residents were overjoyed to see this parade of monks coming into their area, since it was rare for a community of monks to spend the rains retreat in their part of the Himalayas. And the devoted villagers fed the monks and begged them to stay as their guests, promising to build each of them a hut and provide a wooden cot, a stool, pots of water for drinking and washing. After the monks had settled down in these huts, each one selected a large tree to meditate under during the day and for part of the night. It is said that this forest grove was inhabited by tree deities who lived in the trees. These deities, out of reverence for the meditating monks, stood aside with their families, not wanting to go into the trees and be above the monks. They had that kind of devotion for them. The tree deities had strong reverence for virtue, and they thought the monks would only remain for a few days or nights, so they were willing to bear this inconvenience. But when a few days passed and a few more days passed, and the monks still kept occupying the bases of their trees, they kept watching from a distance, wondering what was going to happen. So these dispossessed deities discussed the situation among themselves and decided that they might try frightening the monks to get them to go away, showing them terrifying objects and making dreadful noises and creating a horrible smell in their meditation area. So they materialized all these terrifying conditions, which indeed affected the monks and their ability to meditate. It says that the monks soon grew pale and could no longer concentrate on their objects of meditation. And as the deities continued to harass them, the monks even lost their basic mindfulness, and they became overwhelmed by these oppressive visions and noise and the smell. So the monks discussed their situation with the senior-most elder, who suggested, well, let's go back and discuss this with the Buddha and see what he advises. And so they were attempting to do the early rains retreat, but they were going to leave the retreat. Luckily, they could do the later rains retreat, so that worked out okay. They arrived at Sravasti and went to the Buddha, prostrated at his feet, and then relayed what had happened in their experiences and requested if he could find them another place. But the Buddha, through his supernormal powers, scanned the whole of India and didn't find another place where this group of monks could actually achieve the final goal, liberation. And so he advised them to go back to the same spot. He said, it's only by striving there that you will achieve the destruction of inner taints. So if you want to be free from the harassment caused by the deities, learn this sutra. It will be a theme for meditation as well as a formula for protection. So then the Buddha recited the Metta Sutta, sometimes called the Hymn of Universal Love. And right then and there, the monks memorized the sutta. It's not long. And in the presence of the Buddha, they memorized the sutta in the presence of the Buddha and then returned to the same place while reciting the sutra along the way, thinking about it, meditating on it as they returned. As the monks approached that serene forest grove, the hearts of the deities became so moved by the warmth and the feelings of goodwill that they materialized themselves in human form and received the monks with great respect and devotion. They took their bowls, they showed them to their huts, they supplied them with food and water, and then invited them to occupy the bases of their trees and to meditate without any hesitation or fear. So during the 3 months of the rains retreat, the deities not only looked after the monks every day in every way possible, but made sure that the place was completely free of any noise. Enjoying perfect silence, by the end of the rains retreat, each one of the 500 monks had become an arhat. Indeed, such is the power inherent in the Metta Sutra. So it's said that whoever with firm faith recites this sutra, invokes the protection of the deities, and meditating on metta, will not only safeguard himself in every way, but will also protect all those around him and will make significant spiritual progress. No harm can ever befall a person who follows the path of metta. So, in this day and age where there is so much harm around us in the world and in our own minds, our own afflictions, then I think this is a wonderful sutra to keep on hand and to recite. This is the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who seeks the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this mindfulness. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.